Austin housing market hits 5.4 months of inventory. Does that mean we are finally in a buyer's market in Austin? Jeremy at the Night Group, your favorite Austin realtor. Look, the Austin stats just came out and they show a lot of really interesting things. Now, every time I turn on the news or hear anybody talk about Austin, there's a lot of noise out there. So today what I'm gonna talk to you about is what the Austin Board of Realtor numbers show. Now, Texas is a non-disclosure state, which means that for other people trying to get good data on what's happening in Texas, they can't get good sold data. So some of the numbers that you do see may be skewed by some of these Redfin articles, Realtor.com articles, because they don't actually get the closed data. So we're actually gonna show you the closed to list price ratio. This is something I'm gonna show you at the end of the video. So what homes went and listed for and what they ended up selling for. We're gonna go through and talk about the Austin numbers, what's happening with the market. Then we're also gonna talk about what sellers are facing, because this is a very interesting time for sellers in the Austin market. And we're gonna talk about what buyers are facing. In fact, I got a special guest for that. So stay tuned, here we go. So I got a lot of interesting stats to tell you because, you know, I see a lot of these blogs that say it's a bad time to buy, and look, for some people it probably is a bad time to buy, or you shouldn't buy a home. And you know, we'll talk about what buyers are actually facing here in a minute, but what I think it's really, really important to tell you, and actually, you know, I'll save it for the end or a little further on. There's a statistic that shows the amount of buyers in the Austin area buying under 500,000 and buying more, I guess you could quote unquote say more affordable homes. We'll show that in a second. But here's what's pretty interesting. So the month over month increased again for Austin for pricing. In fact, we're now at $593,000 as a median price. Now, if we compare that back to when the height of the pandemic was, or the height of the market, we're down about 21%. An interesting stat that I saw was that Austin, even though you're seeing negative 19% from the peak, Austin's still up 38%. So we have grown quite a bit. Now, some of the things to notice that are year over year numbers. Now, you're seeing a lot of these places saying that Austin is down year over year. I think it's really, really important that people understand when people say Austin, they don't really mean Austin. They mean the big surrounding area. There's 5 counties in around the MSA is what people usually quote. If you look at it though, the county that's actually dropping our numbers the most is Bastrop. Bastrop is down 7%. So I think that's really important to differentiate, because I see people in the news that they just throw out these numbers without really understanding how the numbers come out. So year over year, Austin, the city of Austin, is up 6%. I'll talk about the MSA numbers in a second. If we look at the closed volume, here's what's interesting. Compared to 2023, we are up 33% in closed volume, meaning more people in Austin are buying homes, even though inventory is shooting up. And this is where I think a lot of people are honing in on, is the inventory. And it's something we've talked about on this channel. I think the inventory is definitely gonna be a problem for the Austin market going through the future. So we're gonna talk about that in a second. Pendings. This is one thing that people don't want to talk about either. They want to talk about the inventory. Pendings are up in Austin 18.7%. So pending volume is up. People are buying homes. It's not like people stopped buying homes in the Austin market. New inventory, this is what everybody's talking about though, is up 52%. That is a lot. So I'm going to tell you in a second what sellers are facing right now, because I have quite a few of them, and what buyers are facing. I got a special guest for that, so stay tuned. The new inventory has been a problem, and it is a problem. If you look at the chart right here, it shows that we have more inventory now than we did going back for ages. I think it's a high of 7 years. Even back to 2019, way more inventory. That puts our months of inventory up to 5.4 months of inventory. Now, when people talk to me or they say, well, a balanced market or a buyer's market is 6 months inventory. Well, yeah, I mean, if that's the thought, is 6 months inventory. But when you look at Austin, I think the question is, are we in a buyer's market? I tend to think we're in a more buyer-friendly market, maybe not a buyer's market. In fact, I'll show you in the B-roll here in a second of all the comments people made. I posed this question on Facebook. Realtors did not like this. They were pretty offended, but that I would say that we are in a buyer's market, or posed the question. And a lot of people were just in general weren't really sure. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So the days on market in Austin has gone up to about 13 days, so that's something to be concerned about. And the active listings are up 75%. So I'm not like trying to show like sugarcoat and paint some rosy painting here. I'm trying to give you the most important information. But here's what's important about the Austin numbers, and I'll say the MSA in a second. 57% of closed homes, this is most important, 57% of closed homes in the Austin area are under $500,000. It's showing you that buyers are gravitating and taking advantage, even though interest rates are high, of under that 500K because there's more inventory. So why are more homes selling, right? That's the question. If inventory is so high, homes shouldn't be selling, it should be crashing down. Prices are going up. Prices are going up month over month, year over year. Again, are they going to continue to do that? That's the question. You answer it in the comment section. Yet we are at 57% of homes sold under 500, 48% sold under $450,000. Now that's for the whole MSA or whole area. I don't have the numbers directly for Austin in this, but let me talk about the MSA numbers. One thing I want to point out here, I'm going to give you in a minute, and stay tuned for this, the zip code with the highest list to close price ratio, meaning that if a home listed at 500,000, it's sold at 500,000, that's 100%, right? I'm gonna give you the one with the highest and the lowest in 1 second. Okay, going back a year ago, the close to list price ratio for Austin was 95.4%. Right now, it's the same as last year at 95.3%. Now, something to toss in here right now, this little moment, two things, two important things. Home builders, the home builder sentiment just dropped. So home builders are getting a little nervous. They were at a 50%, now they dropped down, or 51%, now they're down to 45%, or around 46%. The numbers just came out today. So, and interest rates just dropped down below 7% for the first time in about 2 months. So buyers, we were anticipating a crazy market. This might start to push the market towards the later half of the year, but that inventory is piled up. And usually if you look at the inventory chart here, inventory piles up towards the August, September timeframe, but we have a lot of inventory right now. And I'm gonna talk about what sellers are facing and buyers are facing right now. So the Fed just announced they aren't going to do a rates hike or a rate deduction or drop, which means that rates have actually come down. So buyers are seeing not the 8% anymore. So let's run through the MSA numbers. So real quick, year over year, it's only up 1%. So maybe if that's where these Redfin or Zillow or whoever pulling their data, they're really pushing into that MSA number, that full number around Austin. So yeah, Williamson County was down a little bit. Travis County was up a little bit, which is the Austin area. Everywhere else was kind of down. Hayes was down. So we'll show you these in a second. But closed volume for the MSA was up 5.9%. Pendings are up 2.5%. New inventory is up 26%. It is up. And then active inventories are up 31.9%. And days on market actually dropped 4 days for the entire MSA. You'd think that days on market would be going up with all the added inventory. But here's what's interesting. The close to list price ratio for the MSA, the larger area, was 93.8% last year. Guess what it is? Drop a comment, tell me. 95.6. So even though we have more inventory, we are still seeing sales because what's driving it? A lot of those buyers buying under the 500 mark. Why is that? They're going to builders. Like I'm going to show Eileen here in a second is going to talk about that, but we're getting really good deals from builders. We'll talk about that in a second with her. So what are sellers facing in this market right now? I think this is what's really interesting is that we have listings on the market. Our stuff that we've priced below where we thought it should sell is selling pretty fast. In fact, we have one that is closing in a week in the Reunion Ranch area that went pretty quick because we priced it aggressively. I'm seeing single-family homes, and these sellers with single-family homes sell much faster than two-story homes, and that has been the reality of the market in general. Homes that look good and they've done all the work, there's not a lot to do, these sellers are getting closer to the prices they want. But the problem is a lot of sellers who are looking at these home prices back in 22 and 20 and really 22 and 21, and they're still wanting those prices, and those prices are just not there. Look, so home sellers, you are gonna have to give some concessions potentially to close a property, or you're going to have to price much more competitively, lower than probably you anticipated. And so while you're seeing a lot of this inventory sit on the market, most of it's stuff that sellers just overpriced. I hate to say that, I don't want to say bad things about home sellers, but look, if it's been sitting on the market for 30 plus days, most likely it's overpriced in this market. If it's going quickly, you priced it right. And that's where we are seeing multiple offers. Eileen's gonna talk about that.
Right now, there's a lot of inventory in Austin, and so buyers are being able to be a little bit more selective than they were able to a few years ago. There's a lot more choices. A lot of my buyers want move-in ready. So the homes that they're really liking, they're finished, they're updated, they're move-in ready, they're not having to do anything to the home. They don't even want to paint. They want to be able to move in, bring their toothbrush. The challenge that they're facing is the interest rates. There are some strategies that I've been using to help overcome the higher interest rates. I've been able to negotiate quite a bit off their original prices, closing costs. There's some other little strategies that I use. I am still seeing multiple offers. Now, multiple offers are not the same that they were 2 years ago, where people were bidding 100 grand over. When we write the multiple offer, I'm getting as much information as I can to be as prepared as I can, so you're not having to go crazy over. It's going to be different, but my clients have been winning those multiple offers, and ultimately they're paying a lot less than they would have paid for a few years ago, even though they are in a multiple offer situation. 2 years ago, buyers were having to pay 50, 100 grand over. Now we're really negotiating to help keep as much money in our client's pocket as possible. We're really negotiating the price, closing costs, several different factors to really get them the best deal.
So there you go. I've given you a lot of really good information. Do you think the Austin market is just completely done and that we are a full-blown buyer's market? It's interesting that a lot of the realtors that I spoke to either say, no, we're not in a market, a buyer's market, because it's not 6 months inventory, or no, not at all. When in honesty, a lot of home buyers are definitely in a better position than they were back in 2020, 21, 22, 23. So what do you think? Drop a comment below.